Hey guys, I'm coming back to you with a really quick video. It's the night before Camp Nano. It's like the eve of Camp Nano. So I thought that we would sign up for Camp Nano together on the website if you haven't yet. So let's do that really quickly together. If you don't know how, I'll show you how. So let's get into that. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is type in Camp Nano or Camp NaNoWriMo into Google and click on the first thing that you see. And I'm already logged in, so once you've created your thing, you're going to click Create New Project. And this is your project for April. So you're going to put in your title. Mine is Where the Poppies Bloom in May. It's a working title. I don't really know if that's going to be it. You can choose category, novel, memoir, stuff like that. Then you can choose your word goal or page goal or whatever. And then your genre. So I'm going to pick historical fiction. And then the synopsis of your book. So I'm just going to write my synopsis of my book quickly. So then you can actually put in an excerpt from your novel, so that's just what I'm doing here. Just highlighting the first part of something that I wrote. And just pasting it in. And then I formatted it a bit, and all you do is click Submit. And then you have your project info, so it kind of displays everything. And then if you go to the bottom, you can click Stats for whatever you're working on. And then as you write more each day, it'll show. Awesome. So now that we've signed up, I thought I would do one more little thing before we both go on and embark on this journey together. I thought I would do a really short condensed version of the writer's tag, just so you know about me a bit as a writer, and feel free to answer these questions in the comments yourself, because I'd love to get to know a bit more about you guys as writers. So, the first one, what type of writing do you do? So I have always kind of gravitated towards novels, and specifically like historical fiction novels. So I usually do write historical fiction. I've done Titanic story, I've done one on the Halifax explosion in 1917, I've done the Spanish influenza of 1918, and my current WIP is set during World War II. However, since I was about 14, 15, I've also been into writing contemporary poetry and some short stories as well. I started off writing short stories when I was about 7 or 8, and then when I was 12, I wrote my first novel. And then kind of since then, I've been kind of writing more novels and some poetry. How long have you been writing? Depends what you really mean by serious writing. I don't know. I think in terms of like writing, I wrote my first novel when I was 12, so maybe when I was 12. In terms of serious writing, so kind of like learning how to write and learning the rules of writing, and editing and revising, about 15. So about 5 years. What was the first story you ever wrote? The first story that I ever wrote was actually called Jack and Jesus, and I was 4 years old, and my grandma used to make these little books for me out of like just construction paper, and then she'd staple them together. And my story was about birth of Jesus, and he had an older brother named Jack, and it was basically called Jack and Jesus, and that's the first story that I ever wrote. Why do you write? That's a really good question. I write because it's just something I've always naturally gravitated towards. Like, what's a hobby where I can get so much satisfaction from it? And that's writing. Also, whenever I am in an anxious spiral or just having a bad day, I tend to journal or write angsty poetry. Or think about my story and how happy I will be when it's finished and published. When and where are the best times to write? I really like going somewhere to write to like a coffee shop or a cafe, because then you have like a purpose, if you know what I mean. Like, you're not gonna go and buy like a $5 Starbucks drink and not do anything, because then it's a waste of $5. And also, if you just sit there at Starbucks watching Netflix, I feel like people would be judging you. So maybe going to a coffee shop or going somewhere to write. Also, writing out in the park or whatever in the summertime is really nice and nature filled. Or in your bed at 2 a.m. as well is a great time. Your writing playlist. Mamma Mia movie soundtrack. First one. The parts of writing I enjoy the most. It's this moment, and I don't really know what to call it. But it's when you've resisted writing for so long, and then you finally get over the hump of starting, and then you're typing, and then you just get completely lost, and all sense of time, you lose it. Like, you're not paying attention to what time it is, and you're just so in your story. You're literally in your story. It's so like intoxicating, and things just flow. It's so freaking magical. I love that time. Parts of writing you find challenging. Starting, finishing, and editing. What do you write with or on? I write on my MacBook. Books that inspire you as a writer. This is a good one. This book right here is my all-time favorite book ever. It's Between Shades of Grey by, I'm not going to say her last name right, but so by Ruta Sepetys. I don't think I'm saying that right. It's not 50 Shades, it's Between Shades of Grey. It's amazing. It's historical fiction. It's exactly the kind of historical fiction book I aspire to write. Her writing is so sparse but so powerful, and I find that is the writing style that I want to aspire to. Writing goals this year. That's a good one. Complete Camp Nano and finish this draft of my story. Best advice you've gotten as a writer. This will be our last question. I'll close it up here. Best advice I've gotten as a writer. I'm gonna go with a quote. I really like the quote, "There's nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at a typewriter and bleed." It's like whimsical and whatever. It's a quotable quote. But at the same time, it's so like freaking true. Like, I feel like writers can just overthink the process of writing and editing and making it perfect, and how am I going to publish this book? What's the book going to be called? How do I write diverse characters? Is my world building good enough? I just find stuff like that crowds the real intention and purpose behind why you write. So I find this quote condenses it down. There's nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at a typewriter and bleed. I would just say there's no resistance in that quote. And there's just no resistance in your writings. Any advice I have for you on the eve of Camp Nano, just don't resist anything. Just let it bleed. Let your true self out. Shut your inner editor in your closet, tie it up, and just bleed. Thank you guys. Good luck on your first day of projects. And I am going to be doing weekly vlogs, so I will see you guys in a week, in 7 days, with my update about how my first week went. Good luck to you. I wish the best. And I'll see you guys at the end of the first week.